I usually tend to keep sculpture within the studio. I feel like the studio ends up being like my mad scientist lab where I do all the things that I try to get to a certain space before I show them publicly. So I've never actually shown sculpture like this before, but I have been working on it for a while. And so usually originally we were thinking of it as something leaning against the wall, almost like a painting, more painting-like. But in the process of making the exhibition, Marilena, the curator, who is incredible and who created this opportunity to begin with, was thinking of creating a partition wall between the space to try to create more hanging room. But it's kind of compared to other spaces in the museum, it's confined. I didn't want it to become too tight. I wanted to have the breath of the architecture still there. So we were talking, how can we fuck up the space? How can we really disrupt it? And one thing was to bring in that angle. So it actually has a whole steel understructure that's been welded and anchored to the floor because there's, museum codes and things like that. So in my studio, I'm sure this would have probably have collapsed on someone by now. So everything was made from scratch and welded in here so that it's stable. I wanted to bring in some of the outside in, and I was speaking to Marilena how pieces like Gordon Maddox Clark's Bingo are so legible. The histories within them are so legible to a lot of people. From that one slice of New England architecture, you can tell the person's race and class and family history from that. And as an immigrant, as a woman growing up from the Caribbean and the United States, I didn't feel my histories were as accessible or being preserved in the same way. So I wanted to give that narrative to people like me coming to the museum. So reclaiming architecture, also giving a hint of things like the architecture in Haiti after the earthquake, how so much historical artifact is lost and is not preserved, is not being valued.